The Gritdog is a Tanuki. A Tanuki is a fictional Japanese creature that's been around for a while. It's fat, mischievous, likes to transform things, and has a large sack. I read the book of YOKAI, which has a part on the Tanuki. The first thing to answer is, what on earth is a Tanuki? And the book says, quote,
Tanuki are real animals. In English, they are sometimes called badgers, or more accurately, raccoon dogs.
End quote. Now to be fair, the Gritdog doesn't look like the raccoon dog. It looks like a Tanuki, which is a very exaggerated character. But it takes the animal influences from things like the raccoon with the fluffy tail, or the vertical stripes of a badger. The Gritdog is just a round fella, built like a globe, shaped like a balloon, quote,
In folklore, they are tricksters, often portrayed as somewhat bumbling and pot-bellied.
End quote. His massive body tapers into a teeny tiny face with pudgy cheeks, a grumpy expression, and the longest mutton chops you've ever seen. He really just looks like an angry old man. One of the unique features of the Gritdog is that it uses iron sand as a weapon. The book also mentions that Tanuki do this, saying, quote,
Tanuki, who is in the habit of throwing sand. When a person is passing through at night, the Tanuki will rain down so much sand that the person will lose his way. And then the Tanuki will guide him to a river or waterside and cause him to fall in.
End quote. Which felt so specific, I felt like the game makers might have also read this book. The grit in Gritdog is referring to steel or iron grit, a material commonly used in manufacturing. They like to hang out on this beach, which is a naturally occurring source of black iron sand. It's a real thing in New Zealand, quote,
Black iron sand was formed 2.5 million years ago from rock deposited on the coast by volcanic activity in the Tanuki region. This sand contains mainly iron sand and limestone feldspars.
End quote. As they walk along, you can see them pick up the iron sand, and that's because their hands and feet are naturally magnetic. They'll occasionally collect iron sand and deposit it into a crystal, and that's because it's a major part of their diet. They have specially formed teeth designed for eating iron sand. They'll occasionally roll around in the iron sand, which helps give their fur its black sheen, though I think there's a bald spot on their hips, so I'm not sure if it's entirely healthy for them. Now, some real animals like bird, fish, and insects are able to navigate based on magnetic fields, but the Gritdog is in control of magnetism, or magnokinesis. During the fight, a move that the Gritdog can pull off is making a mine and jumping on it. I think this is supposed to do damage, but I'm not sure if I've ever been hurt by this move. What I find interesting about it is that the hunter also gets a move where they can make an explosive mine. In Legends, the Tanuki is usually alluded to having a greater intelligence than one might assume, being tricksters who mimic humans or human things. That theme is reflected in the in-game description saying, quote,
These eerie, almost karakuri-like structures give a chilling insight into the beast's intelligence.
End quote. I think the implied intelligence being demonstrated by tool use is a pretty cool detail. Some real animals like crows or monkeys use tools to help them get food and stuff, which is a real-world version of this. During the fight, the Gritdog will throw around a lot of iron sand. The book also says that reshaping the landscape is a common Tanuki power, and they usually have a pretty big tail. During the fight, you can see the tail shrink and grow dramatically, and that's actually because this is the Gritdog's store of iron sand. That's how they hold onto it to weaponize it. Cutting it in half, we can see that it's full of spiky metal bits, so I don't think there's actually a real tail inside of it. So the themes of a big tail, throwing sand, and shape-shifting the terrain have all been layered into a single anatomical detail, that being a tail used to shape-shift the terrain made out of iron sand. During the fight, there are two moves where it drums on their belly, and it sounds hollow. The first is the transition into enraged mode, which is accompanied by a flashbang, and the second is a basically unavoidable move where you get sucked in with a bunch of iron sand and then killed instantly if you don't jump up on them. The climbing mechanics in this game are borderline non-functional, so I don't really like this move. But I digress, back on track. This is another thing that the Tanuki can do. Quote,
Tanuki are particularly notorious for making uncanny drumming noises by thumping their ample bellies.
End quote. If we check through the item descriptions of the monster, we can actually find a gastric wall described as, quote,
material from a mighty Gritdog stomach, through which strong fibers run to support the kimono's expandable gastric sac.
End quote. Instead of just being a mysterious detail about the Tanuki, it's been grounded in the Gritdog in their anatomy with a dedicated organ. They're not actually fat, they're literally hollow inside. I think it's interesting that they took the very mythological Tanuki and tried to recontextualize a lot of its lore with scientific rationalization. The Gritdog doesn't have shape-shifting abilities, it has the ability to control iron sand with a magnetic field. It doesn't just make a drumming noise, it has a hollow pit in its belly that allows it to sound like that. Its mischievous nature is manifested in it making tools similar to what the hunter can do, albeit less accurate to the real thing. It is an interpretation of a legend that has been couched in scientific plausibility. I like the lore of the Gritdog, but the design is lacking a stronger identity. He's just this big black blob that was really hard to get good footage of because there's no definition on his body. Even the stripes are just kind of almost invisible. They just blend together. It's just this blob of dark grays and blues that doesn't have enough contrast. I could imagine a version where the stripes are lighter and extend down their spine all the way, playing into the badger's inspiration. The tail is very hit or miss. It doesn't really look like anything. It's just this gray, spiky lump of nothing. Maybe we could see metal things stuck into it, parts of buildings or weapons or iron ore, just something to give it more texture to say, hey, I'm this big magnetic thing. And then also when he's throwing the metal stuff around, you would have weapons being thrown at you, basically. I think one of the bigger missed opportunities was playing into the shape of the Tanuki. For instance, there could be a skinny version that looks like the raccoon dog, and then they suck up air to make themselves look like the more classic Tanuki when the monster becomes enraged. At the moment, the Gritdog is always this kind of bloated ball shape. If they wanted to be ranked higher, I would want to see their design play more into the inspirations and just have more definition. So overall good lore, but poor design, so I'm going to put him in mid-tier. I think a lot of the ideas of playing into the inspiration could also apply to their combat design, but with where they stand now, they use a lot of iron sand in their attacks, and it pays homage to the other quirks of the Tanuki. So, fight-wise, I'm feeling like high mid-tier. It's good, but it could be way more dynamic. Researching the Gritdog's inspirations has been pretty fun, and I hope you enjoyed the video. You should subscribe if you want to see me make more stuff like this. And, okay, bye. Have a good day.